All right, we are live. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Chanowk Yisrael. Yeah, I've been kind of quiet on the internet of lately, but I am back today with a special guest, Chanowk of the Yisrael family farm, all the way from California. They still have sunshine out there where he is, and his lovely family. Cannot be heard today with a special guest. Okay, hold on one second. I'm getting some Yisrael family farm. I'm getting some all the way from California. They still have sunshine out there. Wait. All right, that was me. My apologies, brother. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I was about to say.
Nah, we was getting a little bit of feedback. We can't see anymore. I think we lost you. Are you still?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, he's there. So I want to introduce you. Welcome. We're going to talk about, I want to say a little bit, Brother Chanowk reached out. He was like, Amuna, when you going to talk about some farming? And I'm like, well, I don't know that much talk about it. I know how it is in my head, but I haven't manifested it yet. So I offered to have him come in and do what he does. So welcome, Brother Chanowk. How are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm just happy to be here. I got some work in the field going on earlier today. I had to go and be at a little conference later on during the afternoon, and now I'm here. So I'm very happy to be here.
You're a busy brother. For those who don't know, tell them a little bit about you and what it is that you do. I know you're going to give it to them in the presentation. By the way, for a treat. You're getting a presentation today, but he's going to give you a little preview, a little hors d'oeuvre. So, to whet your appetite. Go ahead, brother. Let them know who you are and what it is you do.
So really, when it comes down to it, what we're doing is transforming the hood for good. Really, and ultimately what we're talking about is I'm really interested in showing people about an agricultural reading of the Bible, because you can't start from Genesis and get in the first 2 chapters without it talking about, here's what you're supposed to be doing. We're commanded to do certain things.
Brother Chanowk, what happened? You're breaking up now. We lost you for a minute there. It was breaking up a little bit. Try again for me.
What about now?
Yeah, it sounds better now. But you went out just a little tiny bit.
Oh, I apologize.
No problem.
So I'll just repeat what I said, and I just said that we're in the process of course, we all know in prophetic days, and in those days, you should be doing these types of things. And, I first got the truth in 1996. And during that time, I sat around Sacramento. I'm in Sacramento, California. I was here with a few brothers, and we really talked about how we really need to start growing our own food. And of course, we didn't. And we talked about it some more. And then by the time 2000 came, we were still talking about it. And so when 2007 and 2008 came with the foreclosures and everything, it really opened my eyes to how insecure we are here in what we call the United States. When I say insecure, it doesn't matter how much money you make. You still can't walk into the store and buy the type of healthy food that you need because it's so expensive. And so in that, I really took it seriously, and starting from there, I started growing my own food in the backyard, and it blossomed into a family farm that, is the Israel family farm, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So that's just a little bit about me.
All right, for those who have just joined us, welcome. We have a special guest presented this evening, our brother Chanowk from the Yisrael family farm representing. He is not just talking about it, because as he's saying, we have different modes of operation where we talk a whole lot and then we do a whole little. But he's actually, himself, his wife, and his family are actually doing a whole lot. And so he's come here today to share with us some of that, hopefully how we can begin to do some of these very simple things that we think is so beyond us. And basically it's because oftentimes we don't have know-how. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over, and we'll make sure we run some tests, make sure we can hear you and see you good. And then you can go ahead with the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, I just want to tell everybody, this is the first time that I've ever broadcasted live before. So, getting the whole screen share and all that stuff together, we might have a few hiccups.
But okay.
Yeah, but don't worry about that. I'll get the hang of it and we'll be back soon to be able to do this. I'm very, like I said, I'm very, very excited to be able to talk about this. I'm very passionate about agriculture. I'm very passionate about the fact of, that's the foundation of Israelite culture, our society, every calendar, everything is based around the cycles and the seasons of agriculture that go on throughout the year. And so it's very, very, very important to us. But anyways, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and try to share the screen right quick. So give me 1 second here. Okay, there's the screen share button. And let me know if you can see that.
Okay, I saw it and then it went away. Try again.
It's telling me that it's screen sharing. It says Google Hangouts is sharing a window. So I believe.
Release it and try again. At first, when you first did it, we saw it, and then now we only see the guy on your image, natural face.
What about now?
No, just press stop. If you press stop presenting. And for those who joined us, we're gonna try until we get this. If you press stop presenting now, try to present again, and then try it to everyone.
Okay, so present.
Mm-hmm.
And then click what I want to present, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And then hit share.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, there we go. We have it.
Okay, so you guys can see that.
Yes.
Okay, good. Give me 1 more second. I'm gonna blow it up. All right, so you can see.
Perfect.
Okay, great. All right, so today we're going to talk about how to heal your relationship with agriculture without losing your mind. And I say that loosely because actually in order to heal your relationship with agriculture, you're going to have to lose your mind. The mind that's been created within you since we've been brought here in the United States. You have to lose that mind. If you don't lose that mind, then you won't even think about agriculture, because we live in an artificial society. We're used to getting everything instant gratification. And because of that, when you think about agriculture, many people, just because you can go outside doesn't mean that you know anything about nature. And for most people, nature is like a foreign place, the same as if you would go to, like, if I took you to Spain, or I took you to France, or if I took you to Germany and dropped you there, and you'd be looking around and the signs will be in a different language. People will be talking to you. You wouldn't know what language they're talking about. So most people are in that type of idea right now. And that's why it's so hard for us to come back to agriculture. So my goal today is, one, like I said, just really to highlight how important it is in our culture to practice agriculture and really figure out the difference between growing food and actually practicing agriculture. When you become a student of our culture and you start to study words, you'll find that agriculture is 2 words, agri meaning field, and then culture, which is of manners, customs, beliefs. It also can come down to music, religion, and all those things that make up a society. So agriculture itself is an actual way of life, a way that you not only grow food, but you do everything. So that's what agriculture is. So I want to make sure that we understand the distinction between people growing food in their backyard and then practicing agriculture, because practicing agriculture requires you to switch from being a consumer to being a producer, which is what we're commanded to do in the beginning. So my goal is to really hit on those points today. What makes this different? What makes this different than most classes is because, one, first of all, I'm not going to sit here and theorize on scripture all day. I'm going to talk about a couple of scriptures which are going to be very important in pointing us back to, where we should be going. But at the same time, we can talk all day, and that's not going to put any seeds in the ground. And that's not, now, they may grow, but like I said, it's going to take actual practical work to make this happen. And I think that that's what's different about this than many other things that we talk about when you think about Hebrew culture, because as Sister Amuna said, we do have the ability to talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. But at the end of the day, we send people home starving. So that's what makes this different. Okay. So like Sister Amuna said before, my name is Chanowk Yisrael. And so I'm going to really just introduce myself. Like I was saying before, I got the truth in around 1996. As I did with that point, I got the information and I really sat on it for a while. I sat on it for about a couple of years. And after I really started to realize what it was all about, from, coming from, growing up around Christians and those types of things, my idea of the Bible was such of just like everybody else, where, oh yeah, you're waiting for a pie in the sky and heaven after you die. So my idea that there was an actual practical element to this whole entire thing didn't even enter into my mind. And when that finally did enter into my mind, then that's when I really started to think about, okay, I know this truth, but if this truth, or me living this truth, isn't going to make it so that I can be able to take care of my family, to be able to put a roof over their head, to be able to put clothes on their backs, and to be able to be that light that we're supposed to be to the Gentiles, then I'm going down the wrong path. And so at that point, I really started to think of things that would make it practical for me. Can you still hear me and see me? Everything's working good? Are you there?
I'm here. I can still hear you.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it looks good. I can see you and hear everything is good.
Good. So let's go back to about 1986. My dad, or excuse me, my mom first. My mom was, she was diagnosed with cancer. She had breast cancer. And then about 2 years later, my dad was also diagnosed with cancer. He had cancer in his kidney, and they had to remove his kidney. Since then, my dad has been back to the hospital. He had kidney, because his kidney was full of cancer, it rubbed up against his lung. Some of his lung had to be cut off a little bit because he had some cancerous growths there. That was about 3 years ago. My mom has since then went on to have about 3 other breast cancer surgeries. So this happened when I was quite young. And, for most people, they say it would scare them to death. But I think what it did is it scared me to life, because my doctor was telling me, well, you have to really watch out for yourself, because now that both of your parents have had cancer, then you're at a high risk for this. And I was like, well, how could that be? Because, how is it that them getting cancer is going to make it easy for me to get cancer? And so I really did start to take looking after myself seriously. I started to look at alternative diets. I started to look at, taking herbs, all those different things. And then I realized that what's passed on from parents to children is habits, eating habits, thinking habits, living habits, some good, some bad. And so it was my parents' eating habits that was passed on to me, that if I continued those same habits, then I knew that I was going to end up in that same condition. So I started to change. I started to change my diet to a plant-based diet. And what that means is that 75–80% of the food that you eat on a daily basis is coming from a plant, and even better if it's raw. But in the process of doing that, I realized that, guess what? It's very, very expensive. And so I had to make choices. And I think that 2007, 2008 is when these choices really came to a head, because I was sitting in my cubicle. And I think if everybody remembers, that's when the economy was breaking down, the foreclosure thing, subprime loans, banks were failing. They were talking about the second Great Depression, all those different types of things. And so that got me thinking to say, well, we survived the first Great Depression. What did we do? So I started to do some research, and I realized that in the 1920s, Black people in the United States owned over 15 million acres of land. 15 million acres of land. And we were about 15% of the farmers in the United States at the time, even in the oppressive conditions that we lived in. And when the stock market crash came, which we also know as which started the Great Depression, we didn't have our money in the stock market because, one, either we didn't trust it, or two, we weren't able to even get in because, of course, racism and all those other different things, oppression, whatever. So it wasn't us that were blowing our heads off and jumping off buildings. That was other people. We were surviving because we were growing our own food. We were making our own clothes. We were building our own houses, and anything that had to do with self-sufficiency, we were already doing those things because we had to do those things to take care of ourselves. And because of that, then we made it. And so at this point, I'm sitting in my cubicle, and at this time I had about a 1/4 acre of land in which was unkempt, grass up to your knees. I paid somebody else to take care of it because I was working in the computer field at the time. And I said, you know what? It's time for me to start growing some food. It's really time to stop reading about be fruitful, multiply, and subdue the earth, and reading about dressing and keeping the garden, and reading about how it says that he that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth after vain persons, shall have poverty enough. Stop reading about those things and actually put those things in practice. Had no prior knowledge of how to grow food at all, nothing. And so what I did is I went in my backyard. I'm like, man, I'm going to do this. Came home one day. I was, determined, and spent about $250 on plants and compost, brought me some tools. I took a little backyard area, about 35 square feet, dug it up, planted everything. I'm figuring it's simple. I look around, I see plants growing all the time. So I figured, hey, I just take the plant, put it in the ground, make sure it's got some compost, and bam, it'll be cool. Little did I know that any fool knows that you don't start your garden in July in the middle of the heat, especially if you're going to be around, if you're going to be at work away for 8 hours. Needless to say, within 2 weeks, everything I planted was dead, completely dead. And so at that point, it hit me how far away I was from the ideals that our ancestors and our culture dictates to us that we're supposed to be as it relates to taking care of ourselves, taking care of our families. And so from that point on, I said, I'm going to learn how to grow food. And once I learn how to grow food, I'm going to make sure that it's always going to be a part of my family's operation on a daily basis. And so that's what I did. I went up into Northern California and took a class with a 3-day class where I had to stay on a farm. And I got some really good information. And the first information that I got was, you don't grow plants, you grow soil. Plants don't need your help to grow. If you make sure that the soil has the right nutrients and it's everything that it needs, then guess what? You'll be able to the plants will take care of themselves. And so that's when I kind of started to shift the way that I thought about growing food, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm a farmer, I'm going to go in and grow some food. And I realized that that was the total wrong way of looking at it. But anyways, so I came back, I started growing food in my backyard, and the first year I did great. We grew about 10% of our food in this little small space that we had. And then after that, I expanded out to maybe about 70, 80 square feet and grew some food there. And we had this abundance of food. So we're up to 15% now. So then I did this again and again and again. And then finally I was up to maybe 500, 600 square feet in my backyard, and I'm growing all this food. And, about that time, I started to do some more research about food itself, because we know that if you look in our neighborhoods, you find the Martin Luther King boulevards anywhere from East Coast to West Coast, North and South. You'll find that those areas where we live, they're impoverished. Most of the people are being fed by these corner convenience stores or fast foods. They call them, in the USD calls it food deserts. And like 26.5 million other people, I found out that I lived in a food desert. So the idea of me growing all this food in my own backyard, it was good, but then at the same time, I wanted to make sure that I was able to show this to the community, so that to my community, my community right around me, so that they could understand that they could do this too. And so that's when the Yisrael Family Urban Farm was born as an entity. And that's when we started to transform the hood for good. Right along that same time, there's some specific things that took place. One of those things is that Judith and I, if you see that picture there, we were honored That's an award that we got from the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And that was for sustainability and stewardship. So it was a big thing. They had a big auditorium, about 12, not 12, but maybe about 6,000 people that were there. And they gave us an award. And I was like, huh, okay. Because for me, I was just growing food to make sure that my family had the right food and to fulfill biblical scripture. Then after that, this is a local newspaper called the Sacramento News and Review. They decided that they wanted to put me on the front page of this magazine about urban farming, especially since I was a Black urban farmer, and you don't really hear a lot about Black urban farmers in, you know, the mainstream media. So I was on the cover of the Sac News and Review. Then there was another organization called Slow Food Sacramento. I got a phone call one day and they said, you know what, we're nominating you for Terra Madre. And I said, okay. And you know, I don't know Italian, so I'm thinking Terra. I'm like, what does Terra Madre mean? Needless to say, I found out that it meant Mother Earth. And so they have a conference every single year in Italy. And so they sponsored me to go to this conference where it's called We Feed the Planet. There was 1,200 people from all over the world, 120 countries, 4 days to talk about the global state of our food system. So I met farmers from Africa, all over Africa. I met farmers from South America. I met farmers from Central America, all of them looking just like us, and really talking about the state of food in our world. And then last but not least, this year, February, Black History Month, the Sacramento Kings Sacramento Kings basketball team honored Judith and I again as Dream All-Stars for Black History Month, because they heard about some of the work that we do in Sacramento as it relates to food and teaching people how to grow their own food, cooking classes, etc. And so I put all that there to say that one, it's our culture to grow our own food. But then at the same time, as we start to return back to those cultural ideals that we practiced in the past, then the world is waiting for us to play that position, because they know that we're the only ones that can actually change the paradigm of this commercial agriculture, pesticides, herbicides, and all these other things, which really just manifests that you're out of tune with nature. Because in nature, everything has a reason for happening. If you're looking at a plant and that plant has a pest on it, then there's an environment that's created for that pest to be there. And instead of killing the pest, you just need to change or learn how to change the environmental conditions. And that pest can either be eaten up by some other insect, or that pest will find it inhabitable to live there and will go somewhere else. But that's not how we're taught. We're taught that if you see something in front of you that you don't like, you kill it. And this leads to a lot of other social problems that I'll get into a little while. Okay? All right. So let's talk about the nation of Israel. Right now, in May of 2013, the unemployment rate in the Black community was 13.5. At the same time, while we were unemployed at 13.5%, our spending power in the United States was $1 trillion. Doesn't make sense, does it? But the reason why these things are happening is because of disobedience, right? Deuteronomy chapter 28:48 tells us, you shall serve your enemies in want of all things. He shall put yokes of iron on your neck. And so even after we accept the truth, many of our people are still going back and forth to jobs that don't pay them enough to be able to take care of their basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, let alone talking about education for themselves and for their families and anything else like that. So yes, we know we're still under the curses. And I believe that by practicing agriculture in its true form, then it's one of the ways to alleviate that while we're waiting and planning and plotting to get to the next level. We know that scripture says that one of the first commands made to Adam was what? Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue the earth, as well as having dominion over the animals and the seas, the air, and on the earth. Okay. Now, when we look up in the dictionary the word subdue, then the word subdue means to bring land under cultivation. So like I said before, you can't even get out of the first chapter of Genesis without being told what? Here's your set of job duties. Here is what's going to ensure your rulership of the planet. Here's what I put you on the planet to do. Bring the land under cultivation. Think about it for just a moment. This has to do with healing our relationship with agriculture. So we're not just talking about, hey, we need to start growing our food. We need to start integrating this back into our culture so that what? We're then able to free ourselves from oppressive overseers. Because if you're producing all of your own food or most of your own food, then you don't have to go and work as much in order to be able to have to go buy it. And remember, if you live in an inner city, anywhere where we're located, then you're going to find a whole bunch of things. But there's one thing that you're going to find is what? Empty lots. Most of them have trash on them and other things. But empty lots can be used to grow food on. In fact, I know Sister Tahila that's in Detroit. And she's successfully growing food on some empty lots. It's a quote from Daniel Webster. Let us never forget that the cultivation of the earth is the most important labor of man. When tillage begins, other art follows. Farmers, therefore, are the founders of civilization. So if Daniel Webster knew that, and we all know that he read the Bible too. So if he knew that, then imagine what would happen if we start to implement this on a large scale, not just within the urban area, but also in the rural areas too as well, even though this particular presentation is going to be specifically pointed towards the urban areas, because that's where most of our people are right now. And when you're ready to go into the rural areas, then there are people that are practicing agriculture there. And so we can have like a bridge and a pipeline between the agriculture that's going on in the rural areas and agriculture that's going on in the urban areas. I know you're probably thinking agriculture, grow my own food. You're probably thinking about sharecropping, slavery, picking cotton, right? And true, in times past, that is exactly what agriculture was for Black people. But still, even with that being the case, we still managed to, by the 1920s, amass 15 million acres of land. Now we're less than 1 million acres through racism, oppression, the curses, whatever you want to call it, mostly at the hands of the USDA. A lot of it was, people just basically going in and just lying to people and taking their land. But what that means is that we have, in this period of time that I've been doing these things, I've done a lot of things right, such as grow grapes, look at that lettuce, and then of course that's Judith and I in a sea of turnips with, I think that's some arugula in the back that's some arugula in the back that's going to seed. But at the same time, I've done a lot of things wrong. And so one of the main things that I want to do today is I want to share with you information on how to get started, because that's what people seem to want to know the most is, how do I actually get started with growing my own food, especially if I don't have any experience and whatever. So I want to make sure that we have some time for question and answer so that I can, make sure that everybody can do that and get those questions answered. I know the flyer says that Judith is going to be on the call, but she's got a sore throat, so she's not going to be here today, but I'm sure that she's watching. So how are you doing, Judith? But she's here in spirit. So if there's any questions about what happens after the food is done, then I can probably communicate with her and be able to answer questions too. Okay. This is me pulling out some stuff from the ground. I think that's a turnip. After doing this for 7 years, here's what I've discovered. There's no such thing as a green thumb. My thumbs, brown on one side, white on the other. No such thing as a green thumb. Usually when people say, well, I don't have a green thumb, I don't know how to grow anything. That's not true. What it means is that you just don't understand the type of upkeep that's necessary from a seed that's in the soil all the way up until it becomes a mature plant. And it is a process. And because of the fact that many people do not have experience of taking care of something living. For most people, the first time they ever get an opportunity to take care of something alive is when they have a child. But for most people that don't have children, they have no experience of taking care of something that's alive from its seed state all the way to its mature state. And I believe that is a void that has to be filled. Because if you don't know how to take care of something living, then that means that you're not going to be able to manifest that type of concern and care in personal relationships. And when you start to look at what's going on in our communities, they call them underserved for a reason. It's because nobody knows how to take care of anybody or anything. They've never had the experience of taking care of any living entity. So not having that experience means that you don't know how to properly serve something or serve people or serve a community. Okay. Second is that we don't grow food. And I kind of touched on that before. As a farmer or a person that wants to be a farmer or wants to grow food, it's not your job to grow the food. The food grows by itself. If you look behind you, I got some plants in the background, or if you go outside, the grass does not need you to grow. Trees do not need you to grow. However, our job as the farmer is to work within the framework of the four forces of nature. And in working in that, help to create environments which lead to the nutrition of plants being, accentuated, so then they'll grow faster and we'll be able to eat from them. So it's our job to manage relationships. That's what agriculture is all about. True agriculture. See, if you're talking about jumping on a tractor, planting some seeds, waiting for stuff to come up, spraying them with pesticides, spraying them with herbicides, using GMO crops and all those other things, then you're not really practicing agriculture. You're really just practicing sorcery, to be honest. When you start to look at the root word of pharmaceuticals or the root word of pharmacy, which is to practice sorcery. And one fact that you'll need to know is that 70% of all the antibiotics that are purchased in the United States are going into animals that are then killed for people to eat. Depending on Mother Nature is better than depending on Lady Luck. See, when in doubt, many times people turn to these types of things. So, for example, to kind of put it in perspective, growing food and then turning to pesticides is the same as getting sick and then going to a doctor to get you pills to fix what's going on with you. You see, it's the exact same thinking and thought process. And we all know that Mother Nature is the best healer. Mother Nature can heal us either through herbs, plants, or even the food that we eat. So I discovered this the hard way. And you get to cheat and I get to give it to you the easy way. Okay, here's the hard way. Rototilling, long rows. You've seen where you go and you see those big, long rows down the road, or big rows that they tell you to plant your crops in if you buy seeds. Chemical fertilizers. You walk into the store, you buy these bags that got NPK, and they tell you to buy those. Manure, animal manures. There's no need to use animal manures in order to maintain soil fertility. Now, I use that loosely because when you start talking about worm composting, where you let worms eat your trash and then turn that into worm casings, which you can then put into the ground, that's manure because it's the byproduct of the worm. But at the same time, it's not the same as manure coming out of another mammal, like a chicken or a duck or a goat, or, you know, or a cow or a horse. It's much different. And chemicals for pests. Using chemicals for pests is really just basically saying, I'm too lazy to figure out why the environment is here that brings these particular insects here, and I don't want to have to go find out, so I'm just going to kill them. And we know that that type of thinking can only be from one group of people on the planet, because that's where they go. They find somebody existing somewhere, and then they say, I don't want to understand their culture. I don't want to understand anything about why they're even there. Let's just kill them. Okay. And basically, look into me. So you walk in, it's like walking into, you know, the natural world, and you got this gun of pesticides, and you just start spraying stuff. Bam, bam, bam. And quite frankly, that's why the bees are dying out right now, because of pesticide use. All right. So really what you're talking about when you start growing your own food is you're talking about the 4 Ps. And I'm not going to get all the way into this because I want to present this. Hopefully you're it's invoking some questions in you so we can have a very lively discussion during the question and answer. But the 4 Ps are, well, preparation, planning, planting, and pest management. Those are the 4 Ps of, you know, growing your own food part of agriculture. And here's some of the things that we grow. Those are tomatoes there. These are really good beginner crops for people to grow, like tomatoes. They're pretty good, easy to grow. You know, those are radishes. Those are pretty easy to grow. Radishes, you can get radishes in 30 days. So if you can plant those now, and then by the time, you know, the next class could come up, you'll be ready to go. Zucchinis, that's one of the zucchini flowers there. Beets, carrots, and these are all beginner crops that, you know, are really, you know, and there you go, putting it all together in one of our homemade salads. Peas, those are easy to grow too as well. Peppers, hot peppers, and then of course lettuce. Onions, you know, we got all these different things. So you know, with that, I want to go ahead and stop for a second. And for those people that are still on, I want to go ahead and bring the video back up. And then, you know, maybe we can start to get into some question and answers before I get ready to go on to the rest of that. Will that work out? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry, I was on mute. That sounds good. That sounds good. I want to thank you so far. The presentation, again, for those who have just joined us, this is Healing Our Relationship with Agriculture. We have a guest presenter, Brother Chanowk Yisrael, and this is, the pictures is not stock photos. He's not showing you stock photos.
No.
Their actual family farm. So this is real talk right now. By the way, this is the Muna Yisrael Solonomics 101, dealing with all aspects of, you know, and what we know, health is an important aspect of a well-being within your soul. And so if your body's not good, your soul is afflicted, you understand? And
yes.
So this all works together. We did have a question, and if you have any questions, feel free to do and share. And we have, and thank you, Kyle Green. Man, this is one of the most useful channels that I've subscribed to from Dr. Watkins' channel. Thank you so much, Kyle. We have Mima and Naz. She asks, how do you go about growing food on empty lots?
Okay, well, so there's 2 ways you can go about doing that. There's the water on it, that's a good thing. But if it doesn't have water on it, then you just go ahead and get on the lot and start growing. There's some benefits to that, and there's also some consequences, or can be some consequences. The first thing is, one, you don't got to ask nobody anything. You can get started tomorrow if you want to. But the consequence is that, of course, if somebody owns the land, they want the land back, and that your garden can be tore up. So so if you want to take your time and do this, then here's what you can do. First of all, where are you calling from? Or where are you from?
Let me see. Let me see. So you're saying while we're waiting to see if Mimi can tell us where she's from, and then we have another question from Ashton. So you're saying that somebody could roll up on a lot and start planting?
If you want to do it the guerrilla way, I've seen people do it. You can.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, you know, like I said, if you have a lot that's been sitting there for, I don't know, 2, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, then the chances are either somebody owns the lot and they're waiting for some purpose to happen to grow something, or it could be like, you know, where people buy property and they don't, you know, they can't find out who the owner is.
Right.
And you know, nobody knows. So you can just get on it, but I wouldn't invest too much of your own money, like putting structures and stuff on it, because you might wake up one day and find out that somebody's about to bulldoze your stuff down.
Oh.
But it can be done. Yeah. It
can be done. I've never heard. That one is very interesting. While we're waiting, is there a particular name that they call it, or is it just both?
It's called guerrilla gardening.
Guerrilla gardening.
Gangster gardening. Well, we call it
gangster gardening. Wow. And we have Ashton Elizabeth. She says, as we're in the middle and end of the July, what would you recommend starting this fall? Also, would you recommend a small balcony? What would you recommend? So the first question is, because we, like you said in the beginning of your story, it's in the middle of summer.
Right.
When is the next time that someone could actually realistically start planting? And what would you recommend if they had just a small balcony?
Okay, so these types of questions, what I'll need is a little bit more information for those people that are watching. I'll need at the very least, I'll need your zip code. And the reason why is because, you know, here I'm in California. I have food growing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, because we have that type of climate here. As a matter of fact, most people don't know about Sacramento is that we have one of the few true Mediterranean climates outside of homeland.
Wow.
So anything that you can grow in Israel, you can grow here in Sacramento. Pretty much the same type of you know, climate.
Wow.
But everybody doesn't have that luxury. So I'll need to know exactly where you live, or at least the zip code, so that I can find out what area that you're in, so that I can figure that out.
Okay, we have one person in Missouri, and then we have one person in Seattle.
Okay, give me 1 second here, and I'm gonna
actually, Seattle says, Ashton says, I'm moving to Seattle in 3 days. Okay, you're moving to Seattle. So one will be in Seattle and one is in Missouri. That's two totally different climates for sure.
It's okay, because we can figure that out real quick.
Okay. And for those who have just joined us, we are healing our relationship with agriculture. I have some beautiful climate here, and I also have some little babies who like touching plants on porches. And so I'm trying to figure out how to do this without them, you know, overwatering, overdoing a whole lot of stuff with the materials here.
So we had somewhere, you said where now? Moving to Seattle?
One is moving to Seattle. And Sister Mimi said that she's in Missouri, St. Louis.
Okay, give me 1 second here. So you're talking about Seattle. So July, so the best thing to do for you is you probably want to start in probably mid-August. And you can start planting things like beans. You can plant beets, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, carrots, cauliflower. I mean, you know, most of you, cucumbers, you know, you can start planting those things, you know, like zucchinis, those types of things. Garlic season's coming in September. If you want to plant garlic, you can do those things. What else do we have here? Radishes, spinach. And so a lot of these are what are called cool season crops, because it's about to start getting into fall, and it's about to be time, like for here, we're in the process now. I'm starting things like broccoli, cauliflower, right around August. Maybe some collard greens, cabbages, lettuce, of course, all the root crops, beets, turnips, parsnips. I'll be doing all those types of things. So hopefully that answers your question there. That's going to be moving in Seattle. And you said another person is in Missouri?
Missouri. And then we have, and yes, in Missouri. And then after that, we have I see you, Kahila. We have a question from Sister Kahila. So after that, we're gonna get to your question as well. So yes, the next sister is in Missouri, St. Louis.
So basically, you're talking about pretty much the same thing. And these things that are you can sow outdoors, which means sowing outdoors means you directly plant the seeds into the ground when you do that. So, you know, that's, and of course, we're probably, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start making videos about how to do specific things, such as how to prepare the soil, how to start your seeds, and then how to transplant, when to transplant, and then how to maintain your garden once you do that. So, you know, this is good information to have. So for sprouts, cabbage, you know, carrots, all those things. Cool season crops.
Cool season crops. That sounds good. That sounds good. We have another question.
Sure.
She says, my backyard area is tree covered. I have a raised bed, but nothing is growing on the plants yet. Plants are huge. I'm in zone 5. Should I be concerned?
Zone 5. Okay, so where in zone 5? What city and state is she in?
Kahila, what city and state are you in? She's going to tell us in a minute. And Ashton says, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
What about, as we're waiting, she says she's in Chicago.
You guys got that. You guys got that snow out there. Okay, Chicago. Let's take a look at Chicago. Yeah, you guys don't have that. You guys don't have a very long season, but you can go ahead and grow some of the same things that I talked about. You know, beet. How much sun would you say that you get per day? You know, on an average.
So all of these things, while we're waiting for her to see. So all of these things are something that someone would have to consider, like you consider the conditions. What about someone who has no yard? They just have maybe pots. Maybe they have their porch. We saw earlier their balcony. I see Sister Mimi asking, you know, what about growing towers? What are your thoughts on that? Growing in pots and things of that nature.
Well, my thing is this: wherever you can plant some seeds and give them a little bit of soil to grow. When you're talking about things such as all of your leafy greens, those things can grow within 6 to 9 inches of soil. So as long as you can give them that much space, then you can grow. So that means that containers are good. You know, grow towers, of course, being a purist that I am, I prefer to grow in the soil. But if that's all you have access to, then by all means you should do it.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you're gonna growing your own food is like printing your own money.
Oh, I like that. I like that, definitely.
Yeah. So go ahead.
She said that she has probably about 5. You asked Kahila how much sun in Chicago she has. She says about 5 hours of sun.
5 hours. If you got 5 hours of sun, then you can still grow all your leafy greens around there, such as lettuce and cabbage and kale and mustard greens and you know, collards. You probably won't get big collards because collards do like the sun, but they will grow if you're getting 5 hours of sun. So, you know, what I would say, if you're still nothing's growing, and like I said, you know, we don't have enough time today to really go into the whole thing because we're doing more of introductory and question and answer. But if if you guys want me to, then I can actually start to put together more technical things where I can give presentations on, okay, here's how you prepare your soil. Here's the things that you're going to need. Here's the tools that you're going to have in order to do these types. And so, you know, we can get into that stuff a little bit later, you know, at some other time. But, you know, it's not just as simple as, hey, you know, put the stuff in the ground and it'll grow. Especially if you know, haven't put any compost in the soil. Sometimes you got to do soil tests. There's just a lot of variables that go into it.
Okay, you got a shout out for your shirt, Brother Chanowk. We have brother, yeah, I like that shirt. So shout out for your shirt.
Thank you, thank you. I picked it up from there's a heavy Ethiopian presence here in Sacramento, and so they have this thing where they bring their fashions. And in fact, it even has the fringes on it. So yeah, that's where I picked it up. So if you ever get an opportunity to go where the Ethiopians are, they got some stuff if you don't have somebody that's making the clothes as of yet.
All right. Let me see if you guys have any questions or comments. Feel free to let us know. We're on the line right now. He has blessed us with his presence. He's a very busy man. Him and his family are actually having their hands in the soil. So this has been, what is it, brother? Like two months in the making?
Yeah, I think like 2 months in the making. I kept having to reschedule just because things popped up.
Yeah, he's busy, brother. So we want to thank him so much for his time. As you can see, it's still streaming light over there in California, and
absolutely
we have the climate.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, the climate that you're in is very important as it relates to, as you're saying, the food that you desire to grow. But you know, I like to leave people with something. If they never grew anything before in life, and they want to get a pot right now and put a seed in it, what would you recommend that seed be?
I would say one or two things. It would either be a sunflower or it would be a radish.
Oh, wow.
Why radish? Why sunflower? Because once you sunflowers are very hard to why a radish is because a radish grows in 28 days. And you know, our attention span can't, you know, a lot of times when it comes to that. See, agriculture is different because you don't get the produce until you put all of the work in up front. You know, you got to plant the seed, take care of the plants, you got to make sure it gets the right soil, all these different things all the way through its whole entire life cycle before you eat it. So if you're not patient, then it'll be hard for you. And that's why I choose radishes, because if you take care of it right, you can have a radish right in your mouth.
Wow. And radishes are definitely good. Look up the benefits of radishes. What you're saying is important because the further away we move from our hands in the soil and actually knowing it, that contributes to the issues that we have, the lack of patience, the lack of understanding, the lack of interfacing with one another, as you spoke about earlier. So actually returning to a level of agriculture helps us to heal as a people. For those
Absolutely.
So let me see if we have any more questions. And if you guys like for Brother Chanowk to come back, no, and we can do this again, as he said, something a little more specific to how to get actually rolling. We have a question. Do bean plants replenish the soil after a crop is finished?
Yes, they do. So I'll tell you a little bit about the Three Sisters. The Three Sisters is a planting method that's done by our brothers and sisters from the Hopi tribes over in New Mexico and Arizona. So basically, if you've ever been to New Mexico or Arizona, you know that it don't rain and it gets real, real hot. So they had to come up with a method in order to grow food with not that rain. And the method that they called was what we call the Three Sisters. And those Three Sisters are beans, corn, and squash. The corn, of course, is a very heavy feeder. When I say heavy feeder, I mean that it takes a lot of nutrients out of the soil. So corn, that's one thing that you plant. Right next to it, you plant beans. Why? Well, first of all, beans put nitrogen back into the soil. So as the corn and they're putting nitrogen back in the soil, but then they're also growing around the corn, so the corn acts as a trellis so it can grow up the corn. Now you plant your squash, and the reason why you plant the squash is because if you know squash, especially the winter squash, it's got those big leaves. So if you plant the squash right there at the base of the corn and the beans, then those big leaves shade the soil. And then you also get to eat the squash too. So really you've got 3 crops in the space of one, and they're all kind of working with this symbiotic relationship together. And you know, that answers your question about the beans, but then at the same time gives you a little bit more background on the types of applications that beans can be used in.
I hope y'all writing this down now. We have the 3 sisters. We have Sister Suzanne Hall, who is what about sprouts in the kitchen? Growing in 4 to 10 days. What are your thoughts on sprouts? I tried sprouts one time. We did sprout some lentils. You know, they were kind of good. What are your thoughts?
I think that if somebody for somebody that finds themselves in a situation where they don't have any way to grow any food, then sprouts are one of the best ways to get super nutrients into your body. So basically, when you sprout something, whether it's kale seeds, or whether it's radish seeds, or whether it's lentils in your case, or most people do alfalfa sprouts. That's what you buy in the store. But it releases the energy from inside of the seed into the plant. And because the plant is still young, it doesn't get a chance to use that energy up. So you're eating super nutrition at that point. Okay. In fact,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, for those people that are preparing, you should have a preparation kit. That means that right now, as we're talking, if all the lights, all the gas, all the water, everything survive for at least a week, 7 days in your house without having to leave somewhere. And you should have sprouts in your kits.
You see now, y'all didn't know y'all was gonna come in here and get some real good information. Because this is some real serious time. So there's a time to speak, and then there's a time to make moves. Okay, and so hopefully you also take notes. Question the sprouts, because there's a thought between how many days is the optimal time to eat it. In your estimation, or in your experience, actually, how many days should you actually? What's the premium time to actually consume the sprouts?
I would say, of course, different types of things are different. So, for example, alfalfa sprouts are lentils, but the accepted is usually between 5 to 7 days.
7 days, right.
5 to 7 days is the most accepted, depending on how long it actually takes for the sprouts to sprout. Okay. And like I said, you can always Google those things. You can buy even those sprout towers. Or you can use mason jars. They've got these little screw-on tops for mason jars that got holes in them, so you can put your seeds in there, and then you have to make sure that you wash them every single day. So there's 1,000 methods. Google would be the best way to figure that process out.
We washed them, we did it, it sprouted, and it was all exciting. So if at least you can sprout after this video.
Oh yeah.
Sprouting, if you don't have any soil yet, or you can at least get some. Hopefully you have some beans, or some something that you can sprout and watch the process. Anything else you would like to say for this opening? Hopefully we thank you for coming in, number one, and for sharing your time and your expertise with us. Is there anything that you would like to say before we wind down today?
What I'd like to say to everybody is that, one, in addition to what we're talking about, growing food, I like to just talk a little bit about some of the other things that we do. If I could have a few moments, if that's okay with you.
Yes, and Brother Kyle says he would like for you to come back.
and I can do that. That's no problem.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up another presentation here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, if you don't mind. Let me see here. Give me a second, because this is new stuff for me. Okay, so share the screen, share that. Okay, you can see this, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So basically, I'm going to talk about something that I'm now calling the Chinese restaurant theory. Chinese restaurant theory. You ready for it?
Yeah, that one sounds interesting. I don't know if it's gonna have any fried rice and duck sauce, but I'm gonna listen.
Right. Okay. So, well, first of all, let's talk about we're going to move into economics, because you know everybody has been into a Chinese restaurant, right? And you know, if you've eaten the food at a Chinese restaurant, you know, you're like, oh wow, I'm getting an opportunity to taste food in China, from China, prepared by Chinese, you know, cooks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's how we look at it, being the consumers of the food. But them being the producers, first of all, we're not really eating Chinese food. Well, some people are, because, you know, if you're eating real Chinese food, you're not eating chicken and beef. You might be eating dogs and cats, right? Or other small animals that they eat. So most people are not really eating Chinese food. They know that most people that's not palatable to most people. In some cases, they might still be doing it anyways. But what they're doing is they're using their culture, their cultural food, because nobody else can get the type of cultural food that they have in China unless you have somebody Chinese prepare it for you. And from that, what they're able to do is what? They're able to use that to enrich their culture. You know, you can't get a job at a Chinese restaurant. They're not going to hire you. I've never seen anybody but Chinese people working in a Chinese restaurant. And so while that restaurant is sitting there on the corner day in and day out for the last 25 or 30 years, it's been used to bring to place an entity into American society, which then gives people the ability to connect with their culture, and then brings money back into their community, which they use to do whatever they do in their community. And so what agriculture represents for us, since it's a large part of our culture, is it represents that thing that we can place into the society that we live in, and have other people from other nations want to come and be a part of it and then pay us. Okay, and that's where the Israel family, that's what transforming the hood for good is all about. We're transforming the hood for good using urban agriculture as a tool for community engagement, employment, and empowerment. And I can tell you now that one of the experiences that we had, we were giving anyways, I'll save that for a second. So here's where we are. We're in South Oak Park, Sacramento, California. Fast food, vacant lots, and other types of things going on in our community. Whoops. Go back here. Uh-oh. Hold on. Bacon. Oh, no, it doesn't look like it's. Hold on. Give me 1 second here. It's not doing what I want it to do. Okay. We'll keep going, but it's supposed to play a video here. Oh, there we go. So this is a video that was shot by America's Heartland. America's Heartland is a nationally syndicated show. So you can see this all over the world on the Channel 6 on America's Heartland. If you go to YouTube and you search for America's Heartland Oak Park Urban Farm, then you can see this video. I'm going to go ahead and play it.
I call this the jewel of South Oak Park.
Chanowk Yisrael may live in the middle of a city, but he sees himself as a pioneer, and he wants others to join him in transforming their neighborhoods into urban farm communities.
We're located on a half-acre, and we have about 1,200 square feet of production vegetable space that we're growing in, and we have about 40 fruit trees on the property, along with chickens, bees.
Chanowk's move to farming followed a career as a systems engineer, and what started out as a backyard garden in Sacramento, California.
Oh man, what happened? Sorry about that.
We're only able to hear. We're hearing it, but we're not seeing it.
Oh, you can't see it?
I'm only seeing it frozen. I'm not seeing it moving.
You can't see it moving, huh?
But he sees himself as a pioneer, and he wants.
All right, well then I'll skip that slide then. You can see this then?
What's the next? Is it something with someone with a wheelbarrow?
No. Here, I'm gonna, it should be saying what we do.
What we do. Okay, see if you can release the screen and then try it again.
Pull it back again? Okay. I'll try to pull it back again. I'm trying here.
It's okay. And for those who just joined us, if you give me the link to the video, I'll put it in the description so that they can take a look at it as well.
Okay, I'd have to do, let me see here. Hold on one second.
And for those who are joining us, we're talking about healing our relationship with agriculture. We have Chanowk Yisrael of the Yisrael Family Farm out of California. And he is on the line sharing with us what they are currently doing real time, no hype, real talk, is transforming the hood for good. So please stay with us as we see some of the good, decent works that our brothers and sisters are doing out there on the West Coast.
So here's what I'll do. Let me try this again. Can you see this now?
Let me see here. Yes, what we do.
Okay, cool. So what we do, so last year we grew about 4,000 pounds of food. We got chickens. We do everything by hand. Why do we do everything by hand? Well, the reason why we do everything by hand is one, because first of all, when you do everything by hand, then it requires that you have other people to help. And so we've been very successful in being able to get, volunteers. Of course, the family helps, but getting volunteers, people in the community to come and give us a hand with what we're doing. And so what it does is as people come together and work in the soil and eat together, then you'll see, here's what I say. I say that great nations are built around the dinner table. And when you start to eat together with people, things like community kitchens, work days on the farm, or afterwards everybody can take food home, then you'll start to see people coming together and working together. We do everything organic, non-GMO. What that means is the seeds that we grow, we can save those seeds so we can grow them again. If you walk in your store right now and pick up your pack of burpee seeds and you grow some radishes, you save those seeds and you try to grow a radish again, you will not be able to grow a radish because they put something in it so that it only produces once. Excuse me. And you have to then go back to the store and buy it again. So we use seeds that are not like that so that we can make sure. So when you buy seeds in the store, you want to make sure that they have the organic, the green and white organic circle on there, USDA organic, and that means that you'll be able to save those seeds. We also do our own composting. Composting is really what transforming the hood is good is all about, because you're taking that which was known, or what most people know as trash, and then you're subjecting it to the three forces of nature, which is fire, water, and air. And then when it's all said and done, it turns into soil. And if you notice that that's 4 elements, and those 4 elements correspond with the 4 letters of the holy name. So when you start talking about agriculture and you start talking about our culture and the creator that we worship, then it's all intertwined, from spiritual gardening, when you're talking about doing things with this garden in between your temples, and then actually doing the things with the garden that's under your feet. It's the same process. We also make our own soap too as well, which we do have for purchase. You'll have to get in contact with us about that. But we make our own soap, and many of the things that we grow here, such as herbs, are in the soap that we make, such as calendula. And also, of course, when you're growing 4,000 pounds of food, then guess what? You have to preserve the food somewhere. So Sister Judith, she's master canner, master preserver, master, she's masterful on all realms of anything that has to do with the kitchen. So, and the thing is that we didn't have this experience before. This is all what we've learned from trial and error. So I want to let you know that you can do this too. It's not just, oh, you got to be a special person. You have to be dedicated, consistent. You understand that you're going to fail. You fail, and then you try again, and you keep going. Okay. That's another video, but we're not going to play that because you won't be able to see it. So how we go about transforming the hood for good. We have volunteer days and farm tours. I'll tell you about 3 of our events that we just had. Last Sunday, we had an event called the Most Open Mic in the City. And so we partnered up with the local community organization of poets. They came over, set up a stage, had a music system, and they were doing open mic. In addition to doing the open mic, I was doing farm tours. So open mic, farm tours, and then we had some, poets doing their thing. In addition to that, Judith made a magnificent vegetarian chili along with young baby coconuts and fresh smoothies that we were making. So not only were we having farm tours and we were having open mic, but we were also providing good, healthy food to people in the community, as well as making money. So when I go back to this idea of talking about the Chinese restaurant philosophy, then what I'm saying is that this is our way to be able to create something whereby which we can then put it into society, and then people wanting to have a Hebrew experience or an Israelite dining experience or farming experience can come to us. And just like they do at a Chinese restaurant, they can pay for that. We also have a harvest group where we go out and harvest fruit, give some to the people we're harvesting from. We also then keep some and then take some to our local food banks. Our biggest event is an event that we do every year on Martin Luther King, where we get all of these groups from Sacramento that are set up. And in one day, we harvest 12,000 pounds of fruit. A lot of it goes back to our local food banks. Of course, everybody goes home with boxes and boxes of citrus, and all types of different fruit. And these are some of the things that, yes.
I'm sorry. Are you showing us more pictures? Because it's still at what we do. Did you change?
What?
Oh
man, I'm going.
Wait, we heard you, but I'm like, oh, where's the pictures?
You gotta say something. All right, let me try this one more time. I don't know what's happening.
Are you pressing, because it looks like you're on the screen, like when you fix the slides? Maybe if you try to press presentation mode, we'll be able to see it.
Oh, I was on presentation mode.
Oh, that's why we're not seeing it. Try to, yeah, here we go. Okay.
Can you see that?
I can see it, but once you go on to the next slide, for some reason, unless you click the next slide that you're talking about, because we haven't been seeing you.
Can you see this?
Let's see the picture before. Like, I'm being nosy. Let's see the picture before. The one before this one. We are transforming the hood for good. Run right before it. What does it look like here? You said you had events, that you were doing events. Was that the one you were on?
Oh, can you see how we are transforming the hood for good?
I can see that, yes.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see volunteer days and farm tours.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see the South Oak Park Harvest Group.
Yes.
Okay. So
I can see that before and after. We see all of that.
Okay, so you can see Project Good now.
Yes.
Okay.
When you go to the next slide, for some reason, we weren't able to see. We can hear you, but we weren't able to see.
Okay, I apologize for that.
No problem.
So anyways, Project Good, that's our youth leadership program. So what we do is we're getting youth from in the community. We're going to have about 8 of them, and I'm going to take them through 6 weeks of learning how to grow food, how to grow the community, and how to grow themselves. Because whatever person that you are is going to be reflected back to you by the practice of agriculture. So if you're impatient and you don't want to spend the time to that it takes to, because really when you're growing food and you have these plants, they're like little babies and you have to take care of them as such. So if you don't want to take the time to do that, then it'll reflect back to you in starvation or your plants are going to die, which happened to me. So anyways, just really getting them back into nature and learning the language of nature so that they can learn about these different relationships that they have to establish with nature, so that hopefully they'll internalize that and use that to have better relationships in their lives. So that's another thing that we do. If you can see that, that's educational workshops. That's 2 of our daughters there. And what they're in the process of doing is they're in a chef challenge to where there's a guy in the back. He's a chef, well-known chef in Sacramento, and they're actually helping to prepare a meal, which, you know, was kind of they're trying to shoot this video. It was a video and a pilot, so it was a pretty good deal.
Wow. You know, somebody would ask, how did you begin to find all of these outlets? I mean, I know you said you just started because you wanted it, you know, to be able to sustain your family. Did it just organically grow into these different manifestations that you have? For those, because people might be like, wow, I didn't know I could do all of that with a backyard garden. Like, how did it, I know you, for those who just joined it, how did you begin? Did you go out looking for people to partner with? You know, for those who might have these kind of questions.
Well, here's the thing. They were looking for me. And that's where I'm kind of trying to bring this to the next level, is to understand that the Gentiles are looking for us. And one of the experiences that I want to share, there we go. One of the experiences that I want to share is, so we had a tour one day. It was about 50 people that came on the tour. And you guys, everybody can hear me? I'm in good shape right now?
Yeah, you're in good shape. We could hear you. Up until just now, you're good. Go ahead.
We had about 50 people that came over, and they were all different types of nationalities, different nations. And so as the tour's over, we're leaving. Me and Judith are standing at the gate telling everybody, thank you for coming out. So this woman and this man come up, they stop, they bow, and then they say shalom, and then they walk off and leave. So I'm only saying that to say that most of the things that you see us doing or that I'm talking about now are things that they came and found us and said, oh, we need to talk to you because, one, first of all, there's not too many black farmers in the country at all. And what when we're dealing with scripture here, I think, hold on one second, just give me a moment here. When you start, especially when you start talking about Isaiah, if you go to Isaiah chapter 60, verse 3, and it says something to the effect of, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. And then verse 4, lift up thine eyes round about and see, all they gather themselves together, and they come to see. Thy son shall come from afar, and thy daughter shall be nursed at their sides, and then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee, and the forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. That have been happening to us specifically since we've been agriculture. And especially, we're not just practicing agriculture, but this name goes out everywhere, the Yisrael Family Urban Farm.
Right.
So it's not, you know, so people know what Yisrael means. It's not like people don't know what it means, right?
Correct.
So these people have come from all over the place wanting to get closer to what we're about and what we're doing, because they know that we're practicing the culture that we're supposed to be practicing.
And I agree. Once we and this is why I love this conversation, and I'm so thankful that you've been able to come on, because once we become and be who we're supposed to be, we no longer have to profess. You just have to manifest. That's it.
Right. You don't have to do that. And then it puts you in a different thing, because see, the main thing that's happening right now, if you look at the media, is they're trying to convince us that we're black, right?
Uh-oh.
They're trying to convince you that you're black, because once they can get you to think you're black, then you won't be worried about practicing your culture, which is then going to put you in a place of entitlement. Because remember, and I talked about this on Sabbath, that this is a covenant. We have a covenant relationship with the Most High. And a covenant is an agreement or a contract. And the contract says that if we started doing certain things, then certain things are going to start to happen to us. And the contract could be good and it could be bad depending on the situation. And so what I was just reading in Isaiah are some of the good things that'll come when we start to practice our
breaking up a little.
to practice. Go ahead.
Up a little. No, I was just saying it froze just a little bit. And I agree. Once we become what it is that we're supposed to be doing,
Yes.
then things will start to open up. I have experiences. I'm trying to get in. We used to farm. Funny enough, we did more farming, I guess, because my husband was the one who was doing it in
Right.
Connecticut than in Florida. You know, we grew
Right.
squash and things of that nature. But definitely, you know, on all levels, as we walk and as we navigate the earth as people, knowing that we're not from this hemisphere, but also knowing that we need to reconnect with the earth, the very source of what our physical, you know, how we feed our physical bodies. This is very important to us coming alive again. And I think that what you said as it relates to people who are gardening and working together and eating together, these are the bonds that we don't have, you know, because we're so fragmented. We're running everywhere, here and there and everywhere. But just simply, you know, come help me, and then we will partake. And these are the things that people seem to remember a lot.
Absolutely.
Let me see if anybody has any more. This multifaceted. Okay, everybody's talking. Everybody.
Oh yeah, I can see that now.
You can see them. Okay. We want to thank everybody. Definitely. Did you have more of the presentation? Because I think again, I know we have another brother, another family in Georgia, and their watermelons. Yeah, their watermelons look really good, but that watermelons.
That's I still have the rest of the presentation, and I can go into it.
Yes.
Okay, let me go ahead and go back into it. It's only about 3 or 4 more slides left, so I can go back into it real quick and then finish it out, and then I'll conclude with you know, just talking about, you know, what's next.
Yes, sounds good.
Get back to Hangout, and then I'm going to share this. I thought I was going to share the screen. There we go. I'm going to share the screen. We go. And then I'm going to share it, and then I'm going to put this on here. Okay, so we did that. So you can see these 3 here.
I can see the last 3, but I don't see them big. I see them on the side. If you press view, do me a favor, press view and then see if it would allow you to all the way at the top crossbar. Yeah. Yeah, and see if it will fit to window. Oh, there we go. Press back. Go back to file. Go back to file. Let me see something. Where did you put it?
That's all right. I know what to do.
Okay. If you fit it to window, maybe we can see as you're going along. Yeah, it was supposed to be the fit to window one. Please with us. This is Chanowk's first time presenting on Google Hangouts. It's
Yeah, let me get back handout, man. Hold on, I think I know what to do. Normal, there we go. You, and then where'd you say fit to window?
The window, yeah.
Okay, so then that means I'm gonna have to close this up, right?
No, it should give you the arrows to go forward or backward.
Yeah, I just clicked it and it just didn't let me do anything. Here, I'm gonna stop sharing right quick, and then yeah, it's not letting me do anything.
All right, so you then just manually click it. I was just wanting it to be bigger so the people can see all of the lovely work.
Let me try it one more time. Let me try it one more time, and let's see if I can get it here.
And also you see the family, you see his family involved, what we do. Okay, I see what we do. Full screen right there.
Can you see it? No?
Yeah, click again. You put some fancy stuff on there, soap making. Okay, click again. Yeah. All right, we can follow the presentation now, so you could catch us up.
Okay, so what about that? Can you see that?
Yes, now it's working. Now it's working the way it's supposed to work. Project good. Educational workshops.
Okay, good. So yeah. So then last but not least, we dig at Urban Garden Builds. So basically what we do is we were able to secure a contract to where we've been contracted to build gardens in people's backyards for them. So if you see here on the right-hand side over here, you see before it looked like this. When we were done, it looked like that. And so it was this group of people that are right. Can you see this cursor as I'm doing this?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So as you can see, it was this group of people here. There's Sister Judith, myself. There's Cocoon. That brother, he's over in Georgia right now.
Oh yeah.
He was here with us, and now he's in Georgia at the farm with Asiero, under the leadership of Asiero over there in Macon.
Okay.
But anyways, in the space of 7 hours, we got a bunch of people together, and we were able to, work this thing out. So anyways, and so the reason why I'm saying all this is because these are things that create income. But these are economical things. We're not just, we have a passion for doing this, but when we're gardening outside of our own place, then they pay us. And so what I'm saying is that once you get into this, and I can always consult and help people and show people how to get into this, then you can find that this can become that which sustains your family, because neither one of us work outside the household.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. So that's the end of those slides. So I just wanted to just show that to you, because that's what this is all about. I know we have dreams, everybody, of just breaking chains and being completely free tomorrow, but unfortunately things are not like that. Especially if you look at nature, figure out is how to get off these jobs, right? And agriculture is well suited for that, because it teaches you how to be the producer of something valuable, rather than the consumer of something valuable. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. And then from there, you start to come up with all these other things, because now, okay, so now we can do events. Okay, now we can do farm to fork catering. We can do all these different things. And so, it becomes a whole family affair. And if you're in a city where you guys have a congregation, or if you're in a city where you got 5 other families, you guys coming together, pulling your resources, pulling your talents, pulling your skills, you can set up something like this, and it can be that which then takes care of everybody. And I think that, that is what agriculture can teach us.
Beautiful. This is real talk from a brother and a family who's really doing it. And like everybody said, prayerfully, you'll be back, Brother Kano. Oh, they can't see me. They might be wondering, where's Imuna? I'm here. I'm still here. Hi, everyone. And so this was what, hopefully, you got something from tonight's presentation, and judging by the comments and the conversation you did, healing our relationship with agriculture. You heard, if you wanted to start, what's the word we're looking for? Sprouting tonight. If you wanted to start some of those early crops and practice, go ahead and do it. Get the information, do the research, ask questions, tap into resources, and begin to make those moves. Definitely begin to make those moves. Brother Chanowk, is there anything, Chanowk? I'm sorry, I knew I was going to want to quit.
It's all good.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say to them? And you did very well, by the way, for your first Google Hangout live presentation. Thank you for sticking in there with us and working through the little technical difficulties. Is there anything else you'd like to say at this point?
Just basically, thank you again for having me on. Basically, just don't be afraid to start small. It's okay if you go ahead and start with on your balcony, or even a pot that's next to a window in your house that gets some sun. But the whole thing is to understand the process of growth. That's the real thing, is understanding the relationship between you and the beauty of where we are as Adamites. You understand? And understanding that we've lost that. And because we've lost it, then it causes us to take a consumer view of everything. Because we have a lot of people that are talking about, well, I'm just going to leave and go to here in places on the planet, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, but guess what?
You got work.
You gotta work, because when you drop off to the place, you know, if the call came today that we needed to go to Yisrael, then when we get there,
you got work.
We don't still have to grow some food. And believe me, you don't want to be trying to learn how to grow food when there's no other way for you to survive unless you have food to eat.
Just ask the pilgrims.
Absolutely.
We have a question. I'm sorry, we have a question.
Sure.
Our brother Uzziah, break up yourself, brother Uzziah. He asks, how many acres did you use to produce 4,000 pounds of food?
That's about 1,500 square feet.
And then he said 1,500. So, I mean, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're not talking. And so that includes, so 1,500 square feet is the amount of vegetable space that we have. Keep in mind, we have 40 fruit trees on the property. So we've got everything from oranges to pears, to plums, to apricots, to nectarines, to blood oranges, to elderberry, mulberry, pomegranates, olives, cherries. So we have a lot of food.
What you got going on over there?
What?
What you got going on over there? You got a whole everything going on. If you are in the California area, you said you do tours, correct?
Absolutely.
If you guys are in the California area, or even in the region, you got to go check out the Israel Family Farm. Come on now. The brother said on 15, what are we doing? 1,500, you said?
Yeah, 1,500 square feet, and then also including the trees.
Correct.
Yeah. So, you know, just to put that in perspective, if you're somewhere in the country and you're getting figs, you're probably getting them from California.
Wow. And one time I know my friend's mother, she had, most I rest her soul now because she passed away, she had cancer, and she was in New York, and somebody said that figs were good to consume. And to find the figs were ridiculous. The amount of money that it cost for figs, it was a lot of money, you know. So definitely wow. We have some good feedback here. We have some, this is what you call inspiration. Soul inspiration is what I like to call it, where someone and their family inspires you to do better. And as he said, he started off just where we are, you know, not knowing what to do, and learned along the way. And that's the beauty of it, that we can learn from those who have gone before us, so that we don't necessarily have to make the same exact mistakes, and we could come in a little bit ahead in the curve. And somebody says you got a supermarket garden. And we have a number of brothers and sisters across the country that are farming and getting back into this space. And they're going to be the ones, they're going to be the go-to ones that we have to have this conversation with. And again, bring them in and let them set up things for us and show us how it's done.
Yes. And so, you know, most of the thing that we've been talking about has to do with, you know, urban gardening, which is, you know, inside of an urban, within an urban area. And so, you know, when you want to start talking about rural area, then you do have Brother Asiero. I think they've got about 20 to 40 acres out there. I don't know if they're growing on all that right now, but, you know, they're a perfect example of what the next scale up is actual, you know, rural agriculture, where you're talking about producing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of food at a time. So, you know, understanding that there are different levels to doing this. And, you know, like I said, we can start small. We don't have to start at the top. We can start at the bottom. And then if we apply the wisdom that we have in the scriptures, then, you know, with that. Safe now. So, you know, we can just, you know, if there's any more questions, I'll answer them. If not, then we can get ready to close it off.
We're going to go ahead and get ready to wind down. We have gotten a lot of good information. Would you like to give them your website at this time?
Well, I tried to put it.
For you. It might sometimes Google or this thing blocks when they think somebody might be spamming. So it's YisraelFamilyFarm.net.
Yeah, www. Yep, that's it.
www.YisraelFamilyFarm.net, and definitely check him out. Somebody, I see Brother Cal say he wanted some soap, so he's gonna have to contact you and see about the soap and every other thing that you guys have available. I pray that those who are watching it now and those who are watching on the replay, check out the Yisrael Family Farm out of California. Beautiful, awesome, great things going on. We like to complain about, oh, everything that's wrong, but in the between time, there's so many of us who are doing quietly the things that are right. And when we see them, we have to say, you know, praise be to the Most High, continue on that way, and may they be strengthened in that. You want me to give them your email as well?
Yeah, you can give my email address. I don't mind that.
If anybody would like to reach out to Brother Chanowk, here is his email address. And once again, thank you for spending your Sunday night. You know, you could be doing a whole lot of other things at this time, but thank you for coming to get this edification. And hopefully when you guys come back again, when we have him back again, you'll have some information as to what you actually tried and let us know how that went.
Absolutely.
All right. So once again, Brother Chanowk, stay right with me. This is Amuna Yisrael. Yeah, my more tongue tied, right? Amuna Yisrael, Solonomics 101. And we're going to come back in a few days, probably tomorrow, to finish up the Lev project. So the one that we're reading currently. So once again, thank everybody for tuning in, and go forward and be the change that you desire to see in the world.
Shalom.